Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's episode of the Maritime Morning Brief, brought to you by the Marine Exchange of Puget Sound. I am your host, Sarah, and I'm here with Executive Director Patrick Gallagher.
Hi, everybody.
And we are here with the International Transport Workers Federation. We have a variety of them here in the office today right now, but we just have a few that we're going to chat with today. So we have Ryan Brazeau, West Coast Coordinator for ITF, and Dr. Asif Altaf, Global and Wellness Program Coordinator. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
So I don't know where we're going to start off. We had a little preliminary chat, and we were all over the place. We've got Jones Act, we've got well-being, we've got Strait of Hormuz, all kinds of things.
Yeah, I think this is an issue that's getting a lot of attention globally. But what really brings you to Seattle? Why now and why here?
Well, we've done a week of solidarity we did a week of solidarity in San Francisco. We did ship visits down there, had some educational meetings with the local unions, met with seafarers at seafarer centers, and then we recreated that same week here in Seattle. We'll be doing the same program. We'll end Thursday with an educational meeting about the ITF, what that ITF does, and the mental health campaign that we've created, which is kind of driving these campaigns as we move around to different countries. So that's kind of why we're here. And after we finish up this week, we'll move on to the next place.
Awesome. Asif?
Yes, I think when we are talking about mental health, we talked about seafaring supplying country like Indonesia, Philippines, India. But many of the seafarers come here in USA. We visited a ship in Oakland. We've visited in San Francisco. We are visiting ship in Seattle. All the seafarers on those ships are Filipino and Indian and Indonesians and Myanmar. They're coming to the port of USA. So when you're talking about a mental health program, it's very important that we work with the seafaring supplying country in India, in Indonesia. But I think it's very important to work in the countries where the seafarers coming to with the ship. So it's all about creating awareness on mental health, because I first came to USA in 1999, this is quite 27 years back. I still think there's a little bit of stigma and silence about mental health even in USA. So I think it's not stigma around mental health, silence around mental health is not only developing country. Sorry to say it, I'm in USA, but I think even in a country like USA, we need to talk more about mental health, and especially when the seafarer coming to US ports, we need to take care of the mental health. And here, the stakeholders in USA, like Marine Exchange, inviting us to talk about this issue. And also, this is important for us because people need to know the importance of mental health, especially foreign seafarers coming to USA. This is not only US seafarers. We are talking about thousands of international seafarers who are coming to USA, and we all need to do together something for them to promote their well-being, to promote their mental health. So that's why we are here in Seattle, and we are so excited to be here in Marine Exchange.
Thank you. What are some of the trends that you're seeing within this space, within mental health and emotional well-being?
Issues that I think there's 2-3 things happening nowadays. One is that, for example, the turnover time on the port is so short now. Like we're in Oakland, 18 hours turnover time. Like you have to quick everything quick. I think that's really becoming stressful for the seafarer. Another thing is this becoming a shore leave, because again, when a seafarer come to USA, they get a 29 days shore leave, and it's like they might have 5-year visa, but the shore leave pass they get is for 29 days. And now with the Jones Act waiver, like lots of seafarers are sailing within the US coast for even 2 months, 3 months. So think of a seafarer who came to USA in February, 3 months back, still sailing within the US coast, and their shore pass expired in March or early April, so they cannot go to the shore. That's one aspect. At the same time, it's not about Jones Act. So in the ship, there are lots of seafarers. There's some captains, engineers, but there's some ratings, and there's some cadets and trainee seafarers. So we have been in one ship in Auckland where there's 2 cadets and very young, 21-year-old. They have 5-year multiple US visa, but they are not granted shore leave because the Homeland Security, I understand the security aspect. I'm not going into that, but think of that young seafarer, 21-year-old seafarer from India. I'm sure he wanted to be a seafarer to see the world. Oh, I'll be a seafarer. I'll see the world. I'll go to USA. I'll go to Japan. So he came to Auckland, and all his senior other Indian seafarer went out to do Best Buy, to Ross to buy stuff, and he could not go because of his passport color, maybe his age, perceived fear that he might be staying back in USA, like it's a perceived fear. So those really creates a huge impact on the mental health of a seafarer. sometimes we don't think about it. Just think of a young seafarer. Like he can see the Oakland, San Francisco, like in a bridge, like which for me, this first time I saw it, but 21-year-old looking at the bay, looking at the bridge, and cannot go because of the color of the passport.
So I remember after 9/11, so I was in the Coast Guard after 9/11, we were underway a lot and were not granted access to, we just could not afford to go ashore very often. I remember going to, ironically, San Francisco, and it's exciting. It is a reason to get underway and go do these things. But then it's almost like teasing. It's a bit of a torture where you just go there and you can see cars, you can see people going across bridges, you can see city lights, and you will never actually. And it honestly, it made it worse. So how is this playing out on our own shores, like here in the Pacific Northwest? Is there incidents that are happening? Are you seeing things, these type of cases, like an uptick that you're dealing with here locally?
Yeah, going back to what Asif said about the Jones Act waiver, there are already issues with the shore passes when ships come in and then they get stuck at anchorage. And that's where we work with you guys to find out when these vessels get into the berths or departure times. But when it happens, when they get their visa and their shore pass, there's that timeline on it, right? And this has driven a bigger issue with them having to go to a foreign port to have that 29-day shore pass reset before they come back to the States and be able to use it to get off the vessel. And even before these Jones Act waivers have been extended, we have issues when ships come in, for example, like where I'm at in Portland. They come into over the bar there in Astoria, and they usually anchor right there in Astoria. And sometimes they get held up for sometimes even longer than a month. That means that shore pass is going to expire, and those seafarers will not be able to get off when the vessel does berth inside wherever they're coming into. And Asif is right. It's so important for these seafarers to be able to get out of their ship and, as the kids say, touch grass essentially, and move around, at least just see what's around them and get out of the ship. And there's other drivers too. We have so many things that are changing in this industry as new generations coming into the workforce where they're used to having tablets and phones in their face 24/7. And to think it's already hard for a seafarer to go out to sea for 9 to 12 months at a time, let alone as soon as they're done with their work, they're now going into their staterooms and just getting on their computers or connecting through their social medias and YouTubes and all that stuff. And they're not making that human connection while they're on the vessel. So this is one of the reasons why we put this mental health campaign together, is really to open up the conversation and break down the stigma of talking about your feelings. Most of these seafarers are men in Philippines, Russia, Ukraine, Burmese, Vietnamese, etc. And we want to go on, make sure that they have a buddy system. They have a connection between someone on the vessel that they're open to being able to talk to about these things. And really what we're driving is it's okay not to be okay. And you can speak to a fellow seafarer and open up about those things. And no one's going to look down upon you about this, because mental health and therapy, you can't just go into a port, call a doctor, and be fixed. This is an ongoing problem with these seafarers, and they're always going to be seafarers. They are mostly from the time they're 18 until they get to retire. In the Philippines, probably 65-ish. They're going to be going out at 9 months at a time and being at home for 3 months at a time. And there's so many things that drive the mental health issues. Like for the Philippines, for example, they're obsessed with Christmas, and they spend the whole month celebrating Christmas. And half of the seafarers from the Philippines are going to be working, and half of them will be at home. And those ones that are on the ship have to watch their Christmas and their family through a computer or a phone, and that really affects them. So there's just examples of, we could talk for hours about all these topics. And But here in the Puget Sound and all along the West Coast, which we cover, including Hawaii and Alaska, these issues are coming up with these shore passes, these visa issues. And it's not only just getting off the vessel and being able to go shopping or touch the ground. It's also like we're having issues with if someone's injured or have a sickness or needs to get off the vessel, or they're over their contract. They're over their 9-month contract. They're at 11 and 12 months. That's disrupting our ability to get them home here on the West Coast, because these shipping companies want to save every dollar they can, and they want that ship to go back somewhere in Asia and then do the repatriation there because it's going to save them a few dollars.
So, as if you've been doing this for a long time, Is it getting worse? Are these issues? It's going to sea has always been difficult, right? It's arduous, and that's attractive for a lot of people. They want that sort of challenge. It's defining for a lot of people, and it can actually build somebody up. Are you seeing it, this type of service, this type of work, more tearing people down more often?
It's a bit tricky. The two things happening in a country like Philippines, India, there'll be always people waiting to join the sea. I think so. That is not an issue. What's happening is that two things happening here. That like you and me was not born with this mobile. Now the young kids born with this device. So I think this device has a huge impact on the life of a seafarer. For example, as I say, they're born like a 21-year-old young seafarer, born with this device and the connectivity. So this is creating an issue in terms of mental health. And he or she does want quick internet, not just internet. And they're on ship, there's an internet now because ITF really worked hard with the employers. So now from 2026, 1st of January, internet is compulsory. Ships have internet, but the quality may be not good. So that's one aspect of the things getting a bit difficult because the young generation is an instant gratification generation. They want everything quick fix. And things on the maritime sector doesn't fix quickly. It takes time for them to fix things. But one thing I would say things are getting, I think this breakup silence stigma, I think we are on the right track because like we have 3 inspectors from 3 different West Coast, San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle. We see more seafarers coming to us saying, I have mental health issue. I have depression. I have suicidal thought. I want to take my life. I want help. So this is a good trend because as a mental health professional, it's all about reaching out. Everybody's stressed. We are talking about it. I am stressed because it's talking to a podcasting here. Every stress is a normal part of life. But what I see that people are reaching out to us with a mental health problem. In the past, we just get a mail, please send me home. I want to go home. But now, so now we are depressed. We are sad. We want to take our life. So I think with all our intervention and constant messaging, constant reaching out, I think we are doing reasonably good in terms of making seafarers reach out to us. As a psychologist, as a counselor, half of the problem is solved when they reach out. When they reach out that I have an issue, help me, support is available. So whole thing about ITF is also the whole point that you have someone on your side. Trust me, for an Indian seafarer, for a Filipino seafarer, they have a huge problem of reaching out to the company. They think they can be blacklisted. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's a perceived fear. When we say we are not employees, we are part of you, and it's our full-time job is to support you, we are there available to support you. I think that whole message is so powerful to them. So they know, oh no, I don't have to go to the employer. No, I can bypass the employer to go or reach out to the ITF, reach out to the inspector and asking support. I think that is an increasing trend. At the same time, sadly, there's an increasing trend of increasing suicide on board ship also, which is quite scary. And again, it's a document, like it's not ITF data. Is it open Google, is open access data, is that more suicide happening on board ship than accidental death. First time ever in the maritime history. Maritime history is more than 1,000 years of maritime history, few thousand years, in fact, even beyond that, it was always there. So first time ever in the maritime history, according to the P&I Club, which is the insurance provider of most of the global fleet, according to their data, not ITF again, let me repeat, that there are more suicide happening at this moment on board ship than accidental death, which is quite scary. So we have to do something on preventing suicide. So when we're talking preventing suicide, as a medical psychologist, as a counselor, it's all about giving them the access to services. So suicide doesn't happen like this. Suicide happens over a time. Yes, your girlfriend or your wife just send you a divorce note. It might trigger serious implication and you might think of taking life. But suicide doesn't happen instantly. It's over a process, working condition on board, harassment, bullying on board. There are other working conditions on board that lead to suicide thing. So for us, when we are talking about prevention of suicide, it's more of a creating awareness and telling them that reach out, we are there. We have 140 inspectors all over the world. Like you are sailing in Panama, you are sailing in Mombasa, Kenya, you are sailing in Nigeria, we are in Hong Kong. We have support. So reach out to us. We can support you without informing your company. And we can give you, sometimes it's just listening to you and saying that we are there. We'll send you home in the next port. So that's the thing we are doing. And again, I feel good that we are slowly breaking the silence. This whole issue of breaking the silence is happening, which makes me feel good.
Yeah, I have a two-part question. What is working? I think in regards to this, what is helping? What is ITF doing that is making a difference that we're seeing? And or what can companies do to make a difference that we know of for their seafarers?
I'll leave the company part to Ryan. But for example, what he's doing is that I think from the ITF side, we established in 1896. So we have a very long history of supporting seafarers. And we started with the seafarer, in fact, in Rotterdam Port, where solidarity between seafarer and dock workers was the starting point of ITF. But from our side, I think this whole consolidated effort and campaign to reach out to the seafarer, saying that it's okay not to be okay, it's just completely okay. Somebody has physical health problem, somebody has diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and somebody has mental health issue. It's completely okay. I think that messaging is working. I think people, seafarers, really taking it, okay, that makes a sense that physical health, somebody has physical health issues, and I can have mental health issue, and support is available. So that is working, I think. But sometimes employers are a bit slow to react, but maybe Ryan can add a few points in terms of employers' perspective.
Yeah, and I'll give a little. You asked a good question on what the ITF's doing, and part of this campaign is it got kicked off when Asif and I got put together in a ITF Congress in Marrakesh, and we put this idea together to push it forward. And then fast forward a year ago, Asif and I did a trial in Mumbai, and we did it for a week. And it wasn't just going on ships and talking to seafarers, it was talking to family members and stakeholders and owners and shipping agents. And the whole key is not only just opening up the conversation about mental health, but it's also getting things in writing. How do we actually move this into something that's in these CBAs that can make better conditions for these seafarers and their families if they do die? And what we found out is it's not just suicides, it's foul play. And we got into a few cases while we were in Mumbai, and we started to realize that a death is a death. It doesn't matter who is suicide. From our perspective, for the employer, they should be paying out these insurance payments to these families so they can survive. And what happens is, especially in the Philippines, is most people don't see this here. Like in the U.S., maybe you live by yourself or you have your family and you go home to them every night because that's the way the world works here. But for them, they're gone for 9 months at a time. And a lot of times in the Philippines, they're sending all their money back to their families to support them. And it's not just their family. A lot of times it could be 2, 3, 4, 10 families living in one establishment. So if something happens to that seafarer, it's absolutely devastating for multiple families that really essentially are supported by that seafarer going out to sea and working and sending that money back all the time. So what we discovered when we were in Mumbai is some of these companies and stakeholders are interested in moving the needle on mental health and having that discussion. At the end of that trial, Asif had agreements with some of these companies to actually put this stuff in writing. And that's what we want to see is not only just talk. We got into conversations with older seafarers. They're like, we've been hearing this for years. So why are you guys here and what's the difference? And the difference is we're just here to actually open up the conversation to the seafarers and make it more comfortable for them to talk about it on board. And then the other steps are actually moving the stakeholders in the direction of this has to be an awareness all the time and making those agreements where if there is a death, families are going to get some support out of it. And we want to see this become global. We want to have our inspectors go on the ship and make this a part of their daily routines when they're on the ship to talk to seafarers and make sure that they're okay and make sure that they know that they need to talk to somebody about these things. And if people aren't available, talk to people on the crew, find that buddy and move forward. As this campaign evolves, we don't know what are the next steps after we leave here in Seattle. Asif and I are planning to kind of relook at how the campaign is going on. And then in October 10th of this year, we will actually kick off the actual global campaign in Australia and Sydney. And then from that point, we will have other countries that will have introduced this campaign with the inspectors in those ports and just keep it moving forward.
I just want to add, in addition to employers and other stakeholders, for example, I talked to 3 inspectors in my trip, Sam from San Francisco, Josh from LA. And both of them told me that one of the very first cases they dealt with when they hired was suicide. They were called by the port state controller or some of the stakeholder to visit the ship, and this case of suicide. And again, who said suicide is basically employer. The captain called the agency that there is a suicide on board ship. Again, what we have to correlate what Ryan say. For employer, they always very quickly say suicide because suicide is not covers death penalty. Again, in USA, 125,000 US is not a big money as a death compensation, but for many families in Southeast Asia, 125,000 huge money. So it's very interesting. Importantly, we need to understand that employer, the captain, when there's a death, like suspicious death, they always say, please come to the ship, there's a suicide, for example. And in both the cases, what I understand that our inspector were called, they were involved, they were talking with the other crew. Then Port State Control was involved, then the police was involved. And what I understand from them that they never got the report from the Port State or police. And we don't want the full report. But I think it's very important for ITF and the union and for inspector to know, is it a confirmed case of suicide? Or is it inconclusive suicide? Or we think it's not a suicide. So if it is suicide, it's difficult for us to bargain the employers because CBA says suicide is excluded. But is it inconclusive suicide, a report done by the Port State Control of that state or the police, then we can go back to the employer. So you say it is suicide, but the report says it's inconclusive. Then we can work with employers to get the death compensation of 125,000 US dollar. So we are talking within ourselves that if we understand the sensitivity, we don't want to get involved in the judicial process or the criminal activity. But after the report, after the investigation is done, it's very important for us to know what is the conclusion. Is it a clear case of suicide? We have done a proper investigation. Is it a clear case of suicide? Is it proven? Or is it inconclusive? And that's the thing we can work with you people. This podcast, I'm making it very strong point that, again, we don't want to get involved in the judicial process. We don't want to involve in the criminal investigation process. We just want to know at the end of the report investigation what is the conclusion.
Because we want to keep seafarers safe mentally and physically, but if we don't know what actually happened, then we can't take that data and help anyone, right?
And just to add one more point is, we don't look at this as a charitable thing that we do. Yeah. This is a workplace issue that we are trying to work on. We don't go on and just hand out a flyer and go, here you go, make sure you read this and it'll be okay. It absolutely has to have follow-up moving forward for the rest of eternity as we're inspectors and moving this forward. This has to be a full-time campaign forever, and that's the way we look at it.
Yeah, the whole point is that mental health is quite proven now. It's not ITF or Dr. Asif saying. If you look at the literature, there's clear correlation between workplace issues and mental health. That's proven. There's lots of literature saying that there's fatigue there. There's a 9-month long time. There's issues about seafarer not paid on time. There are issues about harassment, bullying. So there are lots of cultural and workplace condition issue that creates the mental health problem for the seafarer. So it's a 100% workplace issue. And for us as an ITF, we represent the workers, and we are not doing any charity to the workers. They pay dues to the union, and the company pays for them, but they are dues-paying members of the union. So from the ITF point of view, is our moral responsibility, we are accountable to the seafarer to support them. And it's a workplace issue. And we need to see the mental health, need to see it not from a welfare perspective, but more of a workplace perspective.
Yeah, no, you've said a lot that honestly has floored me a little bit. So I'm sitting here with a lot of questions. I don't know that we'll get to all of them, but it just sure seems like, and I'm editorializing a bit, so if I'm going too far afield here, just bring me back. But sure seems like I said, it's always been hard. It's characterized by hard work. This type of trade and plying the seas is not easy for anybody, and it never has been, and it never will be. However, it sure seems like we've created a system and perhaps an economic condition for these seafarers where if you do this kind of sacrifice, which is very meaningful and a source of pride and has been for generations, but then you don't pay these people, for instance, or you don't grant them the benefits that they have rightfully earned, because we're very concerned about margins, we're very concerned about time. We're creating systems, to me, that maybe we've got to get down to the baseline. You're talking about these 29-day. So honestly, I don't quite understand all the mechanics behind it. I'll have to go back through and think about how that works, but that feels like a trap. That's what it feels like to me. And I hope I'm not mischaracterizing it, but before when we were chatting, the term, forced labor. If you're creating a condition where you have so many barriers, at what point do we call this forced labor?
Yeah, it's a very.
If you're not comfortable answering that, it's
No,
okay.
it's not like
but
that.
I'm just
The
thinking
issue is
about
that
this.
we have to understand that the seafarer is a choice. So it's not that we have to. It's a little bit tricky here. I think for seafarer, I don't use the word forced labor here, is because they have an active choice to say no. Also, for example, what's happening in the Hormuz Strait now. So we have an agreement with the employer saying there is a high risk zone. Seafarer can say no, not to sail there. So it's like when our area is designated a high risk area, seafarer has the right to say, I don't want to sail in that area. But if you sail, you are paid double, for example. So some seafarer will say, okay, it's not that active war zone, so I don't mind going there to get double the salary I will get. So from that perspective, I will not really say it's a forced labor. And again, the whole point is that in a country like Philippines, Indonesia, there's many seafarers are waiting to be a seafarer.
Mm-hmm.
Still is 3 to 5 times more salary than the national average salary of that country. For example, even an ordinary like non-rating get around $1,500 to $1,800 US dollar with overtime, which is a minimum 3 times to 4 times the Indian average and the Philippine average. So it's an active choice of a seafarer. So I think from the ITF side, we are saying there's a demanding job, challenging job, but they should be paid on time, for example. We are already doing a difficult job, so difficult. There should not be a case of non-payment. Last year, our inspector recovered $45 million US dollar back pay, which the employer did not pay to seafarers. $45 million US
The
dollar.
ITF recovered helped
Through the inspector.
Wow.
$45 million US dollar. As you say, we are talking at the extreme of slave and the forced labor. So for me, it's not a forced labor or a slaving thing. It's more of my choice, because I love to be a seafarer. I want to see the world. And it's economic benefit also, because I get 3 to 4 times more than my national average. But I should be paid on time. It should never be a question. I should be paid overtime without any foul play there. I should be fed well. I should not be just eating frozen microwave food. I should have fresh food. I should have access to internet. And because with Starlink, it's not that super expensive anymore. So from our side, we think it's a good job still. And again, we are trying to make it better, like in terms of getting internet on board ship, our inspector providing support there. Nowadays, 9 months plus minus 1 contract. It was not like that before. So now there's a very strict rule, 9 months plus minus 1. That's the maximum 10 months. So previously we saw 15 months, 18 months, 2 years on board ship. That's not possible anymore. If any ship come to US coast, our inspector saw a case of 10 months, immediately that they will work with the employer that he's or she's sent back home. So from our side, we are doing everything possible to make the life a bit better for the seafarers. And in relation to that, also for the young seafarers, because it's sometimes very difficult to get seafarers who are sailing. So we are also working with the maritime academies and the school to prepare the young seafarers. Because if I know the problem in advance, that when I go to the ship, these are the problem I might face. These are the challenges I might face. So one of the things we are doing in a seafaring supplying country like Philippines, Indonesia, India, this supplies almost 70% of the global seafarer, working with the government and the maritime academy. So we prepare the young cadets before they go on board ship, how to face these challenges, how to overcome some of the challenges. So yeah, I will not really use the forced labor yet, but we need to make their life better, and which we are doing. Maybe Ryan, you can contribute here.
I'll stick on the Hormuz discussion, and it is attractive to some seafarers to get double their pay, but what they're finding out is when they get there, the conditions are not as what they're used to on a regular ship that's just moving around the world. And what's happening is they're running out of water, they're running out of those fresh provisions that are normally on the ship, and they don't have the ability to really get the provisions out to them safely, because any vessel that's going out to deliver these things are in fear that they might have an issue as well. You have mines and other issues out there in the strait, and we have one coordinator, Mohammed Arketi, who is the lead in all the Arab countries, and he is completely blasted every day. His phone is probably just exploding on a daily. He's probably getting texts and WhatsApps trying to get these seafarers probably want to go home. And some of them have been there and they've been extended and they can't get off the ship. They're over their contract, and it's a huge problem. And we don't know when the end is going to be near or 2 more years or what that looks like. And it's scarier even than when we had to deal with the pandemic, where similar issues. These ships would be stuck out at anchorage. If you looked out the window here, ships would be stacked up out here in the bay as they would in Astoria or in San Francisco or Oakland, and they did not move. And those seafarers could not only not even into the dock, they couldn't get off the vessel. And the only interactions with other humans they had is if a launch would go out and bring them provisions. And they were getting into the 19-month, 20-month extensions, which is just terrible. And talk about mental health. Try being on a box for 18, 19 months at a time without seeing your family, not without touching land. And what we're seeing in the Strait of Hormuz is, yeah, you can't get off the vessel and you don't have provisions, but now there's a fear that there's bombs and things that will kill you. So it's super frustrating and super scary for these seafarers. And the ITF's doing what they can to really assist these seafarers and help them with their mental health, but also help them get on and off those ships safely and back home to their
Also
families.
getting the medicine. Some of them on
Yeah.
medication, so they're supposed to go off. Now, 3 months they're in the strait, they're stranded there. Maybe they're low on their blood pressure medicine, they're low on the cholesterol medicine. So it's even simplest of the thing that we think is part of our life. For them, it's quite impossible to get. So many things are connected.
I'm listening to you talk, and right now everyone's talking about the Strait of Hormuz. We characterize it as the price of gas problem. What I like about this conversation, not that I love what you're telling me, the content of it, is that you're painting a more human picture. And I think that's incredibly valuable and something we know our industry is hidden away. But I think the work that you're doing couldn't be more important, couldn't be more timely. I really appreciate you being here and the work that you have done in the background for so many years. We're talking about some pretty dark stuff today, but I want to close this out and give you an opportunity to talk about what gives you hope. What's the thing that keeps you going in this job? Because I think you're dealing with some rough stuff yourself, which must be pretty stressful. Must be I imagine I'm sort of empathizing here with the work that you do every day. If your phone's blowing up with problems, that's stressful. So what is it that, and maybe it's a story, maybe it's something you kind of hold on to, but what's the thing that's keeping you going?
For me, I'm a 4th generation seafarer. I could have stayed and worked as a captain and went that route, but I didn't want to go back and forth every day for the rest of my life with my father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather did. I just wanted to use my brain more, and when I got involved in the labor union movement and got to be elected and get to bargain contracts and do things from the shore side essentially to help these seafarers, and this opportunity came up to be an inspector, it is very exciting. This is like a dream job for my point of view. It's an absolute honor to represent workers, and getting to represent workers in the field that I've been in my whole life is pretty important. And the joy you get when you go on a ship, maybe it's not so great conditions, but maybe sometimes it is, and you get to have a conversation with these seafarers that haven't been off a ship for 9 months, 10 months, and you start to see the smile on their face. Like the Filipinos, they love NBA basketball. So you go on and you talk about who's your favorite team, and it's typically Golden State, Steph Curry, it's LeBron James, it's the Lakers. They might have some older seafarers that don't remember Jordan back in the day, and they just light up, and they love that. If you can talk about their hobbies and the food they eat, it's things that you just open up, and then they want to take photos with you when you get off the ship, and it just makes their day. And every time we go board a ship and you can leave that ship with them smiling and happy, I think that drives a lot of us, that we not only are helping them in these dark times and these other issues, but you're also there just brighten the light a little bit for them that day while they're in your home port.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. And again, for most of the seafarer, it's all about manning agent, companies, captain dealing with, like it's more of a hierarchy system. So for when they see us, when they understand that we are part of them, we are there to support, their whole face and body language change. And that's, as Ryan mentioned, that makes us feel good that, we can make that connection. Again, for example, we are in San Francisco port. I visited 3 ships, and 2 ships, there's a mostly Indian crew, and I was talking the local language. And they was, oh my God, you are talking in the local language. Oh my God, so good. I was talking because in India, it's more of a cricket than basketball. Oh, I like that player. And then again, eating lunch together with the Indian curry with 10 crew, with everybody. We are talking about life, good things, seeing they forget about the stress and the fatigue. So I think that's really keep us going, that there's dark side, as you mentioned, some part of the industry is dark, but there's some good part. There's some very good ships. Like we visited, me and Sam is one of the ship, brand new ships. The cabins size is as good as the hotel rooms. And again, seafarer looks happy. So there are dark side. There are also happy seafarers. Again, it's all about, like, as you mentioned very rightly, the human side. It's not about money. For us, it's all about connecting with the seafarers. Talking about Stephen Curry, Golden State Warrior, talking about cricket, talking about Manny Pacquiao, the boxer in Philippines. So again, we are part of you. We are family. We can help each other. I think that's really so moving for us. Again, as for me, for example, they're talking about suicide with me. They're talking about self-harm, cut themselves at the same time. When I get a message, thank you for helping me to go my home, I'm happy now. So come on, that's so priceless, something like that. So I would say it's a very challenging and demanding industry. And like from the ITF, especially, I'm so proud to have our inspector system. A seafarer, wherever they're sailing in the world, in a major port, they have someone to provide them support. I think that is super, super cool.
One of the good things that came out of the pandemic, a dark time for seafarers, is the head of our Seafarers Trust, Katie Higginbottom, created this program for seafarers as a photo contest. And this has been going on since the pandemic, and they created awards. They give money out for the top photos that they think. And these photos are now being used all over the world at different seafarer centers and different museums and such. And it's another thing to make them happy. Like, think about something other than just being out on the ship. Like, it's a human
there's
thing.
Photos, there's so much of their life. Like, sometimes, for example, you're talking Hormuz Strait. Sorry to say, my brother lives here. So for you, Hormuz Strait is related to the oil price, nothing else. There's nothing else there. My oil price going 5 cents every week. So nothing else for my brother. When you talk to my brother, he always talking about oil in Houston, price in Houston, something like that. But for us, it's a human side. I think this is all about the human side, human cost. And doing something for you, for Maritime Exchange in Seattle, inviting us, talking about it. And again, we really thank you for highlighting this issue and give us the space to talk about difficult topics which we don't talk. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you both for the work you do every day and everyone here with us. We really appreciate it. Before we sign off, I just wanted to ask, how can people find you both if they want to connect, and how can they get more involved in any of this work?
Yeah, the ITF has a website, essentially. It has all of our contacts for every inspector in the world on there, emails, phone numbers. You can learn a lot from the Seafarers app.
They can go to the Google Store or the Apple Store, called ITF Seafarers app. So one app, they can have everything about the name of the inspector all over the world, their WhatsApp number. They can, just one click, they can report anything. And again, we have, because nowadays seafarer love, especially Indian and Filipino, love social media. So we are in Instagram, we are in WhatsApp. So Facebook, we are in not TikTok, Instagram and Facebook. So it's ITF Wellbeing and ITF Seafarers Facebook page. And it's again, one click, it's anything around well-being. It comes to me directly wherever you are as a seafarer, and we can connect you with the right person in the right place.
Yeah, we have our own ITF West Coast app too. You'll see a lot of photos and things from these campaigns that we do here in Seattle, Oregon, California as well. Yeah. So we post those on Facebook, Instagram, and you just put in ITF Global or ITF Seafarers in the internet, and you'll find all of us on there. So it's pretty easy.
Okay, thank you so much for coming to join us again. We like to talk about how maybe we'll do another one of these to catch up in a year or so. So I would look forward to that. So with that, I think we're going to sign off this special episode of the Maritime Morning Brief, and I look forward to seeing you all again bright and early tomorrow morning.